Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode of the Hockey Writers Grindline, the Red Wings Roundtable for the Hockey Writers. For the past 5 years, the Grindline has been a weekly column for the Hockey Writers, and now we're coming to you live. I'm Devin, filling in for our captain, Tony Wolak, who is scratched for tonight's episode. Now let's get started by meeting my other teammates here at the Grindline, starting with Ian McNaughton. What's up, Mr. Galaxy Brain?
I'm good, Devin. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good to hear. All right, and last but not least, we have Pat Brown. How's it going, Peach Fuzz?
Hey, doing great. Got to rep the Iowa State Cyclones. Big win in Austin today. Big win.
All right, we're getting diverse here. We're not just talking about hockey anymore. All right, so we're going to dive right in, and we're going to talk about our Grindline article that we put out a couple of days ago that Pat here headlined for the first time. And we talked about breakout candidates for the upcoming season, whenever that may happen. I'd like to start with Ian. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna start with Pat. I'm switching it up. This was his thing. Would you like to touch on who you mentioned in the article, or if there's anyone else that maybe you didn't get a chance to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I like is all of us collectively, and nobody knew who the other one was going to pick. Everybody kind of picked someone who's more established on the team. I think that speaks to what we expect to see, which is some of these role players step up into a bigger role. Maybe not necessarily those rookies just yet that we expect to see do big things. My own pick, Robbie Fabry, I'd say more new than old, but had a good solid year after coming in from St. Louis. Former first round pick, Eiserman. He did enough this past year for Eiserman to re-up on a 2-year deal, which is great. I think we're going to see a lot of good things out of Fabry this year. I think now there are some pieces that are going to be around him. You can rotate in Bobby Ryan, Vlad Nemesnikov, even if you start looking at potentially Bertuzzi or Larkin, rotating those pieces in. And I think the biggest thing that's going to help Fabry too, at least on the stat sheet, is going to be the upgraded defense, because Fabry was minus 29 last year, and I felt like most of the Red Wings were, to be honest. But you need to see a little bit fewer goals overall. I think the upgraded blue line is going to help that. And we're going to see Fabry get up into the 40, maybe 50-point range, just based on better defense and better skill set around him.
For sure. I think Fabry is going to be one of the more versatile forwards on the roster this coming season. Ian, do you want to elaborate on your pick?
Yeah, I went with Danny DeKeyser, who's from Western Michigan, as are you, Devin. So, having to throw that out there. But
go Broncos.
Go Broncos. DeKeyser played, I think, 7 or 8 games, I think, last year. He was out most of the year because he was recovering from back surgery. Just never really got the opportunity to get going, wasn't 100% for pretty much all of last year. And I'm hoping to see him make a bigger contribution than what we've seen in the last few years. I know that's maybe a large ask for someone who's in their 30s, who's coming off a major surgery. But like Pat says, the team is better, so hopefully that can get DeKeyser playing better. You usually play better with better players. But I'm really hoping DeKeyser can be a part of the Red Wings defensive core, improving, and just the team improving overall.
Yeah, for sure. The team definitely missed DeKeyser last season. He looked real promising, and then it went downhill real fast. Yeah. And then my pick for my breakout candidate was Anthony Mantha. I think that Mantha has yet to break 50 points in the NHL, but I think anyone who watches the Red Wings on a regular basis will tell you that he's capable of doing more. When he's healthy, he is, in my opinion, the Red Wings' best pure offensive piece. He just makes things happen. He had 38 points in 43 games this past season. That's a 72-point pace. That would have easily paced or been the best on the team. And that's with the team that they had last year. I think if he has a healthy year, whether it's 48 games, 60 games, whatever we're looking at, he's going to put up some numbers. And I think that this is going to be kind of the year where he finally shows the rest of the league who he is, because he's kind of an under the radar guy as far as, the whole league's concerned. And just real quick, I also want to throw out one other guy because it is his birthday today. Philip Zadina. I think he's kind of the easy pick, in my opinion, for a breakout candidate. Obviously, he only played over 24 games or something like that this past season. And he looked good. And I think that, in a full season, whenever it does happen, he's in line to kind of really show why he went 6th overall back in 2018. Either of you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say no way would he be a candidate for, because he's in NHL way too long. But look for Filppula to have a better year. He was massively disappointing last year. I think we all kind of expected more. I mean, there's not a whole lot around him, but you expected him to bring that veteran presence a little bit more. And I think we're going to see Filppula have a better year. It's not going to jump off the score sheet, but I expect better things out of him. But you can't call it a breakout because he's way too old.
For sure. I think. Go ahead. Ian, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, really, and everyone on the team outside of Jonathan Bernier, Bernier was, I want to say, the one solid piece, if you want to say solid, last year. But it was just a tough year all around last year. It can only everybody can get better. It can only go up from here. It can't get any worse, you would think.
True story.
No. Literally gave up the most goals, scored the fewest goals. Something's got to give.
It literally doesn't get worse than that. No, I think that Filppula in particular will definitely benefit from playing down the lineup. I think second line center is just way too high for him at this point. But yeah. All right, so we're gonna pivot now. It was Thanksgiving in the United States yesterday. Happy Thanksgiving to all the viewers. And Patrick put out a Thanksgiving themed post recently about what the Red Wings have to be thankful about. And he had some interesting picks. So I'm going to hand it off to Patrick to kind of talk about his thought process with that.
Sure. It's easy, I'd say, to get down what we were just talking about just a couple of seconds ago, how awful last year was. But what I thought was cool, some of the comments on the article too, the future is bright, right? There's a lot to be excited about. For those who haven't read it yet, I'd certainly encourage you to check it out. But what I would like to focus on is my number one thing to be thankful for, which I think we can all agree upon, which is our wonderful GM, formerly the captain, now the GM, Steve Eiserman. What we've seen him do in a year is very encouraging. I don't think anybody's ready to hand him GM of the year just yet, but you see the pieces that he's come in. We've talked about it week after week on this show. Low risk contracts, short-term contracts, not too much money. You saw that in the deal that he got Mantha signed to, 4 years, actually a long term, but actually comes in an annual cap hit less than the presumed captain, Dylan Larkin. I think that speaks a lot to what he expects of the team. You look at some of the deals that he pulled at the deadline, which is just, you have to chuckle a little bit that both of these went to Ken Holland as well, where Mike Green goes, Anthony Ciu goes, and best part about the Anthony Ciu deal is got some really good picks out of that. And where is Andreas sitting right now? Still on the free agent market. Ken Holland elected not to bring him back. And don't get me wrong, I wish him the best. I think he's a very talented player, but I don't think he was the right fit on that Red Wings roster. And I think Eiserman saw the same thing. So the decisions that we're seeing come out of the front office and the direction that Eiserman is taking this team, really, I think, gives Red Wings fans a lot to be thankful for. And that was the basis of my piece.
For sure. Ian, do you have anything you want to add?
Patrick has just been killing it with the content this week, but
Heck yeah.
my favorite part of obviously Eiserman, but Sweden, the country of Sweden in general, for all the prospects that are coming out of there who are, with the Red Wings, it really doesn't get much better than that in terms of a a prospect pool and, having guys in the system that you can look forward to and that you can potentially build your team around. That's Eiserman and Sweden were probably my two favorite parts from reading that piece. And those are probably the two, parts that I'm most thankful for.
I really wanted to get an IKEA reference in there, but just couldn't find the right place to do it, so I let it go. Devin, I am curious on your take too.
Yeah. You could say he's building the roster piece by piece, much like IKEA furniture. No, the thing that I personally am most thankful for is that you can tell, even though it's in the early stages, we're in the upswing now. This team has, we talked about it, I believe, last week, where we actually have like prospects now, and like to the point where you could start to see where guys can start to fill in. Eventually might have be in a position where we can deal from a position of strength to then, complement the roster in the future. And that's nice. Once upon a time, the Red Wings did have a really good farm system while they were contending, but a lot of those pieces either didn't pan out or they didn't pan out the way that we had hoped. And I think that there's a lot of players in the system right now that there's reason to believe will pan out. The Red Wings haven't had a guy like Moritz Seider in the system in a long time, and it's awesome. Every time you see him on Twitter or wherever you see him, he's doing great things, and you more and more just love that pick from 2019. And obviously the Red Wings blue line is atrocious, so to have a guy like that in the system is phenomenal. So yeah, I think what I'm most thankful for is that better days are coming, and you're actually starting to tell. It was hard last season, but the beauty of the draft system is that even if you are the worst team in the league, you're not going to pick lower than fourth, even though you'd like to pick higher than that. But that's a conversation for a whole nother episode. But you did get Lucas Raymond, and God bless him, he's going to be a good one. So I'm very excited about that, and thankful, of course. And to kind of pivot off of what I was just talking about, I'm kind of segueing into something that I referenced in the most recent news and rumors thing I just did. And The Athletic, I think it was some odd time ago, Max Boltman put out a depth chart, basically, from what the team's looking like based on all their prospects. I know that Ian has somebody he would love to talk about when it comes to this particular topic. Well, I think what's interesting is that you can really start to see how guys are going to fill in on the roster, especially in the forward core. I think that, honestly, you could kind of ride with what you have right now. You'd probably have a decent forward group. Obviously, you'd want it to be better, but like, holy cow. Ian, since I kind of introduced it, what prospect do you think has some real upward potential when it comes to the future lineup?
So I think as a fan of a team, there should be one player that you just, clinch onto in a draft class. There's just one, doesn't have to be the top guy, just a guy that you are going all in on. And my guy is Theodor Niederbach. I said it when he was drafted in the second round by the Red Wings that I love this kid because he just sounds like the one guy that you hear who scores a hat trick one day and has an awesome World Juniors. And then you just hear about him in the draft and it's like, oh yeah, that guy. I like that guy. And Niederbach has that potential to, I don't think he's a top 6 forward. I don't think he's going to be there in the NHL, but I could definitely see him playing bottom 6 forward minutes, maybe some special teams if they're really ambitious with them. But I could see Theodor Niederbach being a really solid bottom 6, like a guy that the fans love too, who's just an energy guy. He's kind of like an energizer bunny. That's what I see out of Theodor Niederbach, and he is my guy. I'm with him. I might just buy a Niederbach jersey just because I'm just going with this guy wherever he goes. So
Personally, I really want to see a Niederbach, Berggren, and Raymond line. Even if it's just as like a preseason thing, I feel like that would be such a filthy line in the future. Patrick, do you have anybody you're kind of got your eyes on?
That was just a fantastic segue, Devin, because my guy's Berggren through and through. He had so much upside from the beginning. Was a little quiet, had some difficulty staying healthy, obviously. A couple of injuries that he had to work through the past couple of seasons. And aside from his cross-checking ability, which he put on display, a week and a half ago or so.
That's not the stick handling we like to see.
That's not the reason why the Red Wings drafted him, was for that cross-checking. Let people know now.
And everybody was okay, which is why we can laugh. But in all seriousness, he's been challenged. I think it's been well documented. He's been challenged this year and challenged himself this year to drive towards the net more. He's been staying around the perimeter. And when he does that and he drives to the net, he commands attention because he is good enough to put the puck where he wants to. So players collapse in on him. And what does he do? He makes a play. He finds the open player. He's got that vision. He's got that hockey IQ that is so, so highly sought after. And that is who I'm really excited to see. And it was funny, Devin, that you said the Niederbach, Berggren, Raymond line, because my goodness, if that's not something to be excited about with Seider back behind him on the blue line, I don't know what is.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to take a quick time out here just to thank you guys for watching and tuning in. If you like what you're hearing, like what you're seeing, go ahead and drop us a like. Maybe drop a comment down in the comment section. We'd like to hear and see what you guys think. And also subscribe to the channel. We don't just have Red Wings content here, even though, let's be honest, it's the best content. We have some Blackhawks content. We have some overall league content. This channel is a great channel. You should subscribe to it. Now pivoting to this upcoming season that we might have, we might not have. It's still kind of in the air, as crazy as that is. I want to talk about potential start dates. Right now, it's the NHL is holding at their January 1st start date, but we are coming up on December. And then also the kind of potential divisional realignment that we're looking at here. And I want to start this off with Ian. I want to get your thoughts on the topics.
I don't think the Jan 1 start date is unrealistic as we're all making it. Like, I know you've been hearing for the last few weeks, well, they have to get a deal done this week and then we can get the season started on Jan 1st. And we've been hearing that for like a month or last few weeks. I don't think it's unrealistic. I think most guys are training right now, or at least doing some sort of, hockey workout in a day. I'd love to see a Jan 1 start date. I'd love to see a Canadian division. I think a Canadian division would be really fun. I do have some takes on how they should do it, but a Canadian division, 4 other divisions, there's a way to do it. It's not as complicated as, I think some of us are making it out to be, but it just needs to get done. That's the hardest part, is actually getting a deal done. For sure. You said you have some takes. Might they be hot takes? So all my takes are hot. So I think Detroit should be playing in a division with, Minnesota, St. Louis, Chicago, Columbus. I have Buffalo. You can kind of change Buffalo, Pittsburgh. I think you got to call that one the Conklin division, the Ty Conklin division. Ty Conklin. That's shout out. I hope he's watching. That I think has to be the name of that division. I mean, again, you can have fun with this. This is going to be a one-time. We're probably never going to see this again. Brilliant. Why not? Why not just name, it's almost like the old Norris division. Call it the Ty Conklin division for this upcoming season. I don't know if the winner deserves a trophy or a medal or something. But That
An autographed Ty Conklin jersey. What do you mean?
there you go. There you go. That's my mic drop for this evening.
Patrick, how are you gonna top that?
I don't know how you follow that. I am. The first thing that I can say is I am beyond in love with the Ty Conklin division. My goodness.
The thing we didn't know we needed.
I now have to write about this. I think now I have my next post for the Hockey Writers has to be about the Ty Conklin division.
Oh my God, I'm looking forward to that.
That gets amazing. You start wondering how far back, and do we just stick with goalies, right? Can you work in Billy Ranford in there some way? And that would be amazing. Yeah, I'm going back. I'm going that way. What can I say? Galaxy Brain got me going.
Because I have in my notes here. Conklin, he played for Detroit. He apparently he's played for St. Louis. He's played for Columbus. He's played for Buffalo. Like he's played for the 4 teams that are in my division. So like,
I saw where you were going with that. I was wondering why you didn't wrap Pittsburgh in. Exactly, Devin. Yeah, I think we caught what you were throwing there for sure. Oh, that's good stuff. I would say, in my opinion, January 1st is going to be incredibly difficult to hit at this point because you got to get training camp in.
Sure.
If you do a deal today, you have 2 weeks to figure out how you're going to do training camp, and then you got 2 weeks to do training camp over the holidays before your season starts. I don't think it's going to happen.
And it should be kind of reiterated that there's kind of an understanding that the teams that didn't go to the playoff bubble are supposed to get kind of an extra week or whatever they've decided, just to kind of shake off the rust. So you got to factor that into the equation too.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong. I would love, we all hope and pray that it happens by Jan 1 because we miss hockey more than anyone, I think. But I think that's going to be a challenge in terms of the divisions. Ian, I completely agree. There has to be a Canada division. I think most agree on that, especially just with travel restrictions. Yeah, it's going to be very challenging to try to get teams to and from across the border if it's even allowed with what we're seeing with COVID and things like that. I've seen so many different projections for divisions that it's hard to even guess because some go straight central, some go south central, some go, so that all depends. But I will throw in a hot take.
Oh boy.
And if we can get the proper divisional alignment where we get some of these more fringe teams, you throw in Chicago, which is good, but not that good anymore. And they're in chaos if you've looked at what has been happening to them this offseason.
They just pulled to New York and announced their rebuild. So, yeah.
Yep. And everybody's like, what? But anyways, if you can get enough where you're not stuck with the Tampa Bays of the league and everywhere else, we could be looking, hot take, at a Detroit Red Wings playoff season, gentlemen. It depends on what alignment looks like, but you start throwing short seasons in where these teams don't have any tape on these line pairings, and it's going to take the league a little while to adjust. You remember what Mantha, Larkin, and Bertuzzi did out of the gate last year? They were unstoppable until the league figured out, they've only got one line. Okay. Yep. But depending on what these divisional pairings look like, and I know earlier we've all said there's no way this is a playoff team, but you know what? It just might be. There's my hot take. Tony's shaking his head somewhere. He doesn't even know why.
I will say the Wings record this past season probably took a big hit because they're in the same division as teams like Tampa Bay and Boston. So if they can somehow not be in a division with those guys, they're going to have more wins by default. Well, I want to say by default, but they're more likely to have wins.
You're right.
I agree with what you just said, Patrick. I think January 1 is getting more and more unlikely the more days pass. I think I guess I want to throw this question out to both of you real quick. What do you think is too late? At what point is it too late to start a season?
I'm gonna say March. I think is because you have to, the thing to keep in mind is that NBC, who has the US TV rights for the NHL, they have the Summer Olympics. They're still projected to have the Summer Olympics in Tokyo this summer. And NBC also has the rights to that. So if you're the NHL, you have to figure out a way to have this season done before those Olympics. I know it shouldn't depend completely on NBC and these Olympics, but if you're the NHL, you want this season done before those Olympics start. You just don't want that hassle of trying to compete with the Olympics. So I would say March probably is like the very late, like you've gone too far if you're already in March and you haven't got a season.
At that point, you're looking at a trade deadline that's at the like end of April, maybe, and that's kind of nuts. What about you, Pat?
Unless the plan is to dramatically shift when hockey starts and ends for the foreseeable future. You know, if they can come to terms with the deal, and you know, we've seen them pause for the Winter Olympics. Yep. That's because they were playing in them, but depending on what contractual obligations are, and NBC's got a lot of networks, so maybe they can work something out with both, or maybe not. They've got their streaming channel too now, right? But unless you're going to dramatically change what the season looks like for the foreseeable future, which I don't think the NHL has any desire to do, Ian, completely agree. I think you could get away with starting in March. I think the later you get into March, forget it. It's not going to happen, much like those lockout shortened seasons where, what was it, 2013, they were able to play a shortened season. 2005, the whole thing was a wash. They were never able to come to terms. So I think they have to play. I think if it all comes down to it, regardless, they're going to figure out a way to start in no later than February. But I think it's a great question. And Ian, I think you hit the nail on the head. If you start getting into March, it's starting to look bad.
The thing to look for, well, historically, is the two lockout shortened seasons, because this is the only thing that's even somewhat comparable to what we're going through now. And both of those in I believe it's 94, 95 was the first lockout shortened season, and 2012, 2013, where they managed to get a deal done in December, January, and they started playing hockey in January. Maybe that's the kind of road we're heading towards, but if you start getting into late Feb, March, I think you've gone past the buoy. You need to come back. Like, you need to get it done in January, February to have any sort of resemblance of a season.
The thing that's kind of paramount here is that obviously everyone's kind of been impacted, especially financially, from the pandemic. And they're going to continue to get affected by it. If you end up canceling the season, you're not going to make any revenue, like straight up. I know that the big thing is a plan to have fans back in the seats, but even if that doesn't become a thing that can happen, you need to play games. You got to get ad revenue. You're not, at some point you either have to make $5 or make $0. And at the end of the day,
Can I just add, what are your guys, like, this is off script, but what are your guys' thoughts on fans in the building? Because I personally don't mind, like, obviously you're not going to have full capacity.
Yeah.
But again, I think there's a way where you can have 25%.
I think the challenge is, especially in a hockey arena of sorts, is that air is very heavily recycled. You know, you're not looking at an outdoor venue. I think it has to depend on what numbers look like. You know, numbers as in COVID numbers, what the local numbers look like, and things like that. You know, if I'm not going to lie, if I'm the NHL and it comes down to that, I would probably err on the side of caution and not have fans until you know that it's safe, until you know that other people aren't going to get sick. That's just my opinion. But when you're indoors, I think it's a totally different ball game. But if they don't play, how are we going to get a chance to see those sweet reverse retro Red Wing shirts?
What a well, I think we're just gonna put a pin in this this topic with that point right there. I do want to finish up today's episode by talking about what's coming up on the site. We've got another Grindline article coming up set for this coming Monday. We're looking at our individual wish lists for the Red Wings. So of course, be on the lookout for that. And then the final topic for this show, something went viral in the hockey world that wasn't necessarily expected to go viral. Connor McDavid's new house is, I like to call it a murder dungeon. It is very, very interesting. I don't know if you've seen the pictures. It's very black and white. There's a basketball court with low ceiling, and it looks like the Brooklyn Nets designed it. It's a cool house, but like it's very murder dungeon-y. Ian, what do you have to say about McDavid's dungeon?
I'm pretty sure it was actually Coraline who designed that house.
Yep.
Because if you ask me what do I think Connor McDavid's house, interior, what do I think the interior of his house looks like? I would not have guessed all black and white everything. I mean, nice basketball court, nice wine bar. He had some,
Sure.
quality furniture. But if you told me that's what the interior color was going to look like, I was like, that's not the McDavid vibe I get from him. That doesn't.
Yeah. Maybe McDavid's gonna literally be the next Gretzky and go from Edmonton to LA, considering their colors are black and white. Maybe. There's my hot take.
That's well done.
McDavid to the Kings.
Hot take.
Oilers fans are now tweeting at you as he would never.
I have been canceled in Edmonton. Patrick, do you have anything to add?
I got a couple issues. First of all, the basketball court. What's with the 3-point line? When you get out to the perimeter, there's nothing. I don't even understand it. Did they not build it big enough? I don't get that. Number two, I feel like if you're walking through the house, there's got to be Phil Collins or something playing on the radio based on your murder dungeon assessment, because it's a mildly uncomfortable feel there. And then last but not least,
it's in the air tonight, but not the drum solo. Just everything before it.
And last but not least, what, Oreos in the pantry?
Yeah,
gotta be. Maybe the old New York black and white cookies are really legit too, so maybe those. But I don't know what else you're putting in that pantry.
Oh, he's got pucks in his freezer and milk in his fridge.
He has a poster of like Jimi Hendrix and I think Jack Nicholson too, and like
he's got some cool art in there.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, he's making good money. I'm sure he does. But
I was not expecting the Phil Collins reference. That wow.
What can I say?
Oh, killing it tonight.
Jeez.
All right. It's almost a sham, but we do got to wrap this up, guys. All right. Before we go, I would like to urge you all one final time to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment down below and join our conversation. What do you have to say about the Murder Dungeon? I would love to hear. We'd love to hear what you guys think. Coming up next week, we've got our Grindline article, and we've got, of course, more content coming down the pipeline. We thank you for tuning in, and we will see you again next week. For Tony, for Ian, and for Pat, this is Devin signing off.